All right, this video is for you. If you're a woman in your 40s and beyond, and you've got a lot on your plate, and you're thinking to yourself, how the hell am I meant to work full time, keep learning, lose weight, fix my hormones, get enough sleep, exercise, and look after everyone else, and still have time for myself? If that is you, I want you to I want you to understand this, right? You don't have a motivation problem, you have a system problem, okay? And that's what this whole video is going to be about, okay? It's called the Thinking in Systems for Goal Achievement. And this is exactly how I help women over 40 inside my coaching stop living in chaos, actually make progress on fat loss, hormones, and better energy and overall life. And in this video, I'm going to walk you through those steps. I'm going to explain to you how to do this. Number one is going to be the real goal of the framework. So regaining control and freedom in your life. Number two is why the usual way of doing things, motivation, willpower, or I'll start again on Monday, is keeping you stuck. Three, the three core principles of building a system that works on the worst days and on your best days. Okay. And then four, the integration process, how we actually tweak and adjust everything so it fits your current lifestyle. So let's start with the goal. Okay. So the goal with regaining control and freedom. So right up here, you can see this outcome, right? So this is where we're going to actually get control of everything, right? The goal. So you're not just losing 10 to 20 kilos or just getting my steps in, but actually feel like you're not constantly behind. You're not living in guilt or catch up mode. You're finally have some space to actually breathe. Okay, so this first part is avoiding feeling busy without progress. So most women I work with are busy all the time, right? They work, the kids, the grandkids, aging parents, house stuff, social life, when you can squeeze that in, okay? But even with all that busyness, the things that really matter to you are your health, your weight, your hormones, and your confidence, right? This framework is designed so that your energy goes into things that actually move the needle on your goals. Now, the second thing is the reducing resilience on willpower and motivation. So I guarantee you, if you've ever said, I just need more discipline or I just need to get my shit together, you're trying to solve a system problem with self blame. So at the age of 20, you might get away with relying on motivation. But at 45, perimenopause, stress, broken sleep, work, that strategy will collapse. It doesn't work. The goal here is to build a life structure that doesn't fall apart every time you're tired, emotional, or your hormones are all over the place. Now, thirdly, is building processes that automatically achieve results. So instead of, oh, I should eat better, or I should walk more, I should go to bed earlier, we build processes. So a process for how to eat Monday to Friday, a process how to fit movement into your week, a process to sleep and wind down, a process for your weekly planning and your check-ins. Okay, and then the fourth is you chain the processes together to form a system, right? So if your evening routine supports your sleep, sleep then supports your energy, and then energy makes it possible for you to train and hit your protein targets and eat good, and then that supports fat loss and your hormone regulation, and then all of that gives you the capacity to show up for work, for your kids and your partner and yourself. That is a system. So now let's look at the difference between how you've been doing things to this point, right? So now if we go down, here is where most women are trying to live, and this is why they feel stuck, right? So first is focus on intention and task. So what I mean by that is you tell yourself, oh, I I need to exercise, right? I need to stop snacking at night. I really need to finish off that online course or Ivy's coaching program. I've got I've got to sort out my hormones out. So they're just intentions. They live in your head. They depend on you reminding and feeling like doing them. Okay. So you might think, I need to exercise. I need to finish that coaching program from Ivy. But if you build if you are a bit more organized, you can take that up to another level, which is if proactive, turn intentions into plans. So you'll say things like, I'll spend an hour reading every night before bed. I'll go straight to the gym after work. I'll walk every morning at 5:30, right? So that is what it looks like when you map it out, okay? But this is what actually happens, okay? So what result you get is the plans often fail due to barriers or limitations, okay? So factors, you're either too tired or something comes up, okay? So this is where reality kicks in. You're too tired after work, you're exhausted, there's too much traffic, one kid needs something at home, you'll still need to cook their meals, you're emotionally drained by the end of the day. So the plan breaks, and then you land here in the outcome and frustration, which makes you feel disappointment, right? So you feel like I can never stick to anything. Maybe I just don't have the discipline, or something must be wrong with me. It must be just because I'm at that age now, but nothing is wrong with you. This problem is that all of this is built on willpower and pretending life is always going to be perfect and cooperate with you. This is why you need to move away from this and start thinking systems. Okay. So now we go into the 3 core principles. Okay. So this is where the magic happens. So the 3 core principles, right? So the 3 core principles we have to talk about are, these are the core principles that my clients use, and this is the system that I use as well. Okay. So first thing is you need to think holistically. 2, you need to build for repeatability, repetitions. And then 3 is peel the band-aids. Okay. So we're going to walk through each one right here. So number one is thinking holistically, right? So when I mean by thinking holistically, this is where we stop pretending you live in a vacuum and we actually design around your real life. Okay. So first, what I mean by that is expect plans to fail proactively. Okay. So instead of, oh, this time I'll be good, we're going to reframe that and we look at, well, if this plan fails, where is it most likely going to break? What is it that is going to happen? Okay. We assume that we'll be tired. Hormones will be out of whack. We're going to get caught up on some days at work. Family's going to need me, during the week. We've got to plan for that from the very start. Second, you have to identify all influencing factors and barriers. Okay. For example, if you want to train 3 days a week, we look at your work hours, the kids' schedules, the partner schedules, menopausal symptoms, hot flashes, sleep, energy crashes, okay? Your emotional eating triggers, evening, weekend stress, right? You have to plan for those. Third is we analyze your past attempts and responses to the obstacles. So we ask ourselves, what have you tried before? What did it start? When did it start to fall off apart? And what did you do when you were tired and stressed? Okay. Instead of seeing the past as an evidence of you being stuck or you failed. We use it as data, okay? And then systems must account for all possible barriers. So if we know evenings are chaos and we don't build your training system around evenings, if you fucking have your kids at home and you have to do school pickup, you're not going to go train in the afternoon. That's setting yourself up for failure. Okay. If we know we always lose it on the weekends and we binge eat because we've been going out, and we got to build a system around your weekends. It can't be the same as the weekdays. Okay. Instead of hoping, oh, I'll just be all good. Right. Okay. So that's principle one. Principle two is building for repeatability. So two is about building something you can actually repeat week after week, even when life is not the best. Okay, when it is shit. First, we need to talk about the systems must even work on the shit days. So if your systems only work on the best days, right, when everything's perfect, everything's in control, it's useless, because we want something that still functions even if you had shit sleep, you are working overtime, you're bloated, you're emotional, you've had a rough day with the kids and the partner, okay? And then second, we have to avoid systems relying on stars aligning. And what I mean by that is anything that depends on perfect motivation, perfect energy, perfect time, perfect schedule, that's fragile, okay? It's not going to happen. Third is evaluate your plans based on repeatability. Okay, so instead of asking, is this an ideal plan or schedule, we ask, can I realistically do this most weeks for the next 6 months? Okay, I'd rather you do for an example, I'd rather you do 3 simple 30-minute walks or 2 training sessions consistently for 6 months than for you to try and have a perfect 6-day a week training schedule that you're only going to last 2 weeks on. Okay. And then thirdly, we have to minimize the friction. So we want low effort solutions. So what I mean by that is we're always asking, how can we make this easier to start? Can we shorten it? Can we move it to a better time of the day? Can we prep once, prep our meals once instead of making 20 decisions all week for our meals and dinners, right? So instead of cooking something healthy every single night, we might build a three meal on rotation Monday to Friday that you barely have to think about and have minimal thinking fatigue. You might do days of the week where Taco Tuesday, Pizza Friday, right? And I'm talking about healthy carnivore, animal-based foods, okay? That is how we minimize the friction, okay? Now, principle number 3 is the Band-Aid effect, the Band-Aid solution. So it's about long-term change. So this is where we make sure that we're building a sustainable system for years, not just for 6 weeks. Okay. So first is the initial solutions are temporary fixes, the Band-Aids, right? So when you first start, your system will often lean on things like you're going to have supplements or coffees or to try and get you through, strict times to try and stay focused. You're going to maybe have naps or things to get you through the day instead of tracking everything. Okay. That's okay to start with, but Band-Aids do not address the underlying issues. So if the real problem is you're only sleeping 5 hours, or your mental or your mind never switches off, your nervous system is fried, your schedule is overbooked, okay? There's no amount of Band-Aids that are going to fix that. So over time, we want to remove the limitations and the conditions for success. We don't want your system to only work if you have the perfect applications on your phone, the perfect time, the perfect energy, the perfect anything. You don't want to have the perfect 100% day that was controlled, because that means working on underlying issues must be part of the system, right? So Things like improving your sleep, protecting your time, your energy, your focus, lowering your stress load, setting boundaries, okay? They become goals inside the systems, okay? We treat fixing my sleep the same way we treat how to lose 10 kilos. We run it through principles. Our principles are one and two. Okay, so we run it through the systems one and two, what to expect, identify the influencing factors, the barriers, analyze it. Okay, and then we build it can this be repeatable? Can this system that I just wrote down be repeatable and sustainable for 6 months? Okay, that is how your systems become stronger, simpler, and easier to maintain over time. Now, how to integrate these systems, right? So this is how we actually make this work in your real life. So the key idea here is you don't need a perfect plan. You need a plan you're willing to keep improving. Okay, it's not a one-stop shop. We always keep adjust and adapting. So first we start with the cycle between principles one, which are your obstacles, and two, the effort. Okay, so that's principle one. We go back up to one. Principle one, think holistically, right? And then principle two, the effort, sustainability, the repetition, right? So we constantly are bouncing between what could get in the way of this working and how can we make this easier to do, okay? Then second, we have to find a high effort solution looking for always to make things easier or make them easier, right? So usually your first idea that comes to mind is going to be extreme, okay? Or I'm going to get up at 4:30 every day and I'm going to train for an hour. I'm going to cut all the junk food out, all the snacking. I'm going to go strict carnivore. I'm going to start on Monday, okay? Great thinking, right? We look at that and say, okay, that is a high effort. What is the lighter version of that that is still going to move the needle forward, right? And then third is going to be the consistent seeking low effort combinations. So we might test, right? So shorter gym sessions, different times of the day, multitasking, batch cooking, pairing habits and things you're already doing together. And then next is treat goal setting as a series of problems you need to solve. So instead of I failed again, I'm stuck here, we need to reframe that and switch to, okay, well, this version didn't work. Why? And what problem do we need to solve next? Okay. Because sometimes the problem is energy. Sometimes it's schedule. Sometimes it's the food environment, right? Then the goal, find the combination that locks in success. So we keep tweaking until we find a frequency, a vibration, a time, a day, a level of difficulty that actually fits your life that is repeatable. So now we're in the solutions, right? So solutions may involve discomfort. And what I mean by that is I'm not going to pretend and say that this is all cozy and effortlessly, right? Discomfort is temporary, leads to new results. If you actually want change in your life, it's going to feel uncomfortable because you're not used to it. So changing your evenings, saying no to certain things, putting yourself first more often is going to feel uncomfortable at the start. Okay. Discomfort is temporary. It leads to new results. Less uncomfortable than stress, anxiety. And what I mean by that is it's less uncomfortable than the stress and anxiety of no progress. Living in a body that you are unhappy in with no energy, feeling disappointed within yourself year after year, that is discomfort. But you've been living there for so long, you forgot how uncomfortable it is. We're just choosing a different discomfort that leads somewhere better, right? Then finally is the outcomes. The plans become clearer, more specific. What I mean by that is approaching. Okay, so your time, your system will evolve. So over time, your system will evolve, right? So I'll try to work this out this week. It will turn into something like on the good days, I know I can do X, Y, Z. On the days that I'm feeling off and tired, I know I can do X, Y, Z. We come up with a plan for both, and you're still completing your non-negotiables. So that means you're covering contingencies. So if I'm tired, I will do this. And your approach becomes dynamic. It's not just a rigid, structured plan. Okay. So you're no longer trying to smash a perfect plan into a messy life. You're just letting the system flex a little bit and you're still moving forward. Does that make sense? So this is how you make things work with your chaotic, busy life, right? This is the system that we use. So if you watch this and you're thinking, oh my God, this is literally my life. Busy all the time, always planning, always starting over again, always blaming myself when it doesn't stick. Then I want you to hear this clearly, okay? You don't need another 8-week challenge. You don't need to try harder. You don't need to become more perfect, more disciplined version of yourself. You need a system that is built for you. Your age, your hormones, your responsibilities, your energy, your real life. That is what this thinking system is. And this is exactly what I build with women that I coach. Okay. We map out your reality. We build systems for your food, environment, your sleep, your stress, your work, your week. And then we integrate it until it actually fits and suits you. We peel away all the band-aid aids so the system keeps getting easier. And by the time we're in a few months, most women are shocked at how much calmer and more control they feel. So if this resonated with you and where you're sitting here thinking, wow, he literally just described how my brain works, at this point, because once you see your problem is system design, not personal failure, right? You can finally give yourself a break and start building something that actually supports you where you are now. You're not that girl that was 20 anymore. Okay. So if you actually want to help and build something out, not just understand it intellectually, this is exactly what we need to do for you. We take this mind map, we plug it into your life, and we build a system that lets you lose the weight, stabilize your hormones, and get your energy and identity back without feeling burnt out. And if this is something you're curious about, I want you to book a call below for the next step, and we can go over how we actually make this for you. Rewatch this video, take notes, start spotting where your current plan, what they are. Are they really willpower motivation traps, and actually begin to redesign your life in systems? Okay. Don't just imagine it.